Hello everyone, my name is Daria, welcome back to my channel. So a few days ago I posted that I was going to be doing a Q&A, and a lot of the questions that I got fell into one of two categories. Either the questions were about Bridgerton, or they were about anything else. So I figured it just made more sense for me to split the Q&A into two separate videos, one just covering the Bridgerton questions and one covering anything else, and I also promised you guys a more analytical look at season 2, which is also what I am here for today. So if I titled this video what I'm imagining right now that I titled it, you probably have some questions. The title is a little provocative, a little controversial. But hopefully, by the end of this video, I will have explained myself and maybe even gotten some of you naysayers to agree. So the first thing I want to clear up is my assertion that season 2 of Bridgerton is better than season 1. And for me, I really predicate that assumption on the romance. I have been an avid watcher of period dramas since I was 8 or 9 years old, largely because of my mother. I grew up watching Jane Austen adaptations and Downton Abbey, and pretty much any period drama that you can name, I probably grew up watching it. And for me, and a lot of other lovers of period dramas, especially Jane Austen's work, which this season was definitely heavily inspired by, it is really about the romance that comes first. I know that people watch Bridgerton for a lot of reasons, for the spectacle, for the drama, for the lavish costumes and balls, but for me it always comes down to the romance. That is the selling point of this show, and because of that, Bridgerton season 2 is better than season 1. It's like saying the sky is blue or water is wet. Bridgerton season 2 is better than season 1. Going back to what I said about my love for period dramas, a lot of the romance in those stories has to do with small moments of intimacy. It was obviously a very different time when there were certain social rules about how you could and could not act. So the romance of period dramas is really all about sort of trying to get around those rules or steal moments of passion and intimacy while still trying to adhere to those rules. So romance and intimacy is found in a look that goes on just a second too long, in the brush of ungloved hands. When it comes to period dramas, it is all about the yearning. And that is what Kate and Anthony delivered this season. Before the season came out, there were a lot of articles and a lot of complaints that Bridgerton season 2 was not as sexy, or I guess I should really say steamy, as the first season. And that was seriously not a problem for me. Like I said, I am used to watching period dramas where we are lucky if we even get a kiss between the main couple. And it felt like the writers, while creating Kate and Anthony and the slow burn relationship between them, really understood why people love period drama romances. It's about delayed gratification. It is about the small moments where you can brush against one another, or maybe someone that says something that they shouldn't, or you look at each other, like I said, across the room, and you stare just a bit too long. It is about all those moments building up, and then we get our explosion. And when finally in episode 7, we get that scene, you all know what I'm talking about, okay? It felt so earned. And when it comes to the complaints about Kate and Anthony really only having like the one big sex scene, I have to say that it makes sense for their story. When you look at Simon and Daphne's story versus Kate and Anthony's, there's a distinct difference. Daphne's story is about a sexual awakening. So, of course, in telling her story, there has to be a lot of sex. Also, Daphne had a fundamental misunderstanding of what sex was and what it entails, just logistically. And the thing about Kate and Anthony in particular being the Bridgerton that we are mainly following, sex is not an issue for him. It's not his hang-up the way that it was Daphne's. His story is about how emotionally burdened he feels, how he is sort of a slave to his own ideas of duty and what it means to be a Viscount, living up to his father's legacy. His story is about emotional nakedness. I believe that Jonathan Bailey himself, who plays Anthony, said the same thing in an interview. Kate and Anthony both have no issues with sex, okay? We saw episode 7. I think we can tell that there's no issues there. What is an issue for the both of them, though, is emotional vulnerability, about being able to give into their desires and finally put themselves first above their family. So for them, it just makes sense that there would be less sex because their story is not about that. It is an internal and emotional journey. And for me personally, that is why Anthony and Kate are so superior to Simon and Daphne. Kate and Anthony challenge each other. Kate and Anthony feel so uncomfortable and dislike each other so heavily at the start of the season because they recognize in one another, themselves, and their own flaws. But even as they bicker, there is also this underlying sense of respect. And that is really how you do enemies to lovers well. Kate and Anthony are themselves around each other and are emotionally unburdened in a way they are not able to be around anyone else. Bridgerton season 2 understood that what is the sexiest thing, especially in a period drama, is the yearning. It's the delayed gratification. It is about two characters literally breathing on each other for 5 fucking episodes. Or should I say 5.5? Because they only kiss at the end of episode 6. And I, honest to God, you guys, honest to God, when they kissed, I legit thought I was hallucinating. I thought it was a joke. I thought that maybe Kate was gonna like wake up from some dream. I think what's so satisfying to me about Kate and Anthony's love story is that it is about their journey individually as well. They bring out the best in one another. They encourage one another to be their truest selves. They are mirrors of one another, and they spend so long sacrificing their own happiness and their own joy for other people that it becomes such a relief and a release as the watcher getting to see them come together and find that happiness that they lacked in their lives with each other. When it comes to Simon and Daphne, I realized after watching season 2 that I enjoy them as a couple, but as individual characters, I am not that invested in them. I find that the couples that I really root for, the ones that stick in my mind far after reading the book or watching the show or movie, it is the couples that I am invested in, both them being together, but also them as individual characters. And I just didn't feel that way with Simon and Daphne, and I absolutely 100% felt that way with Kate and Anthony. I wanted them to be together because I wanted Kate to be happy, and I wanted Anthony to be happy. And it was just this amazing fucking bonus that they found that happiness together. So now that I've sort of given my general thoughts on season 2 and why I preferred it over season 1, I'm going to jump into the questions that you all asked me both on here and on Insta. Also, just so you guys know how strong the obsession is, how deep it runs, this is my newest background. Can you guys see? This is like literally my favorite picture of Kanthony ever. The first question is, what did you think of Simone and Jonny's chemistry? 11 out of 10, fireworks, electric, magnetic. It will never be done again. It will never be matched. Everyone else in the history of film and television might as well just give up right now. Along with my obsession with Kate and Anthony comes a natural obsession with Simone and Jonny. I don't know if you guys know this, but ever since Bridgerton season 1 dropped, I have been waiting for this season. Okay, so it's been well over a year that I've been obsessing over this production. So I know a lot about the behind the scenes and what exactly Jonny and Simone have said about one another. They have the purest friendship I've ever seen. I truly feel like they are platonic soulmates. The way that they talk about each other, the way that they sing one another's praises. I feel so lucky to have two actors who are so in love with this show, who are so passionate about their roles. Kate and Anthony, the reason that they were portrayed so well is because Jonny and Simone understand them so well. They understand Kate and Anthony, and they love Kate and Anthony, and that shines through in every single scene. Now, the next question is all about my history with Bridgerton, and I'm going to lay that out right now because it's going to sort of impact the way that I answer your future questions. So I, like most people, was introduced to Bridgerton through the show. After I finished season 1, I became obsessed, especially with Anthony, and I kept hearing people talking about Kate. Everywhere I went, people were talking about, who is Kate? When do we know if it's confirmed that Anthony is next so that we can get Kate? Kate was everywhere. And then I heard that Kate and Anthony are a enemies to lovers romance, and I was like, hell fucking yeah, count me in. So then I decided to jump into reading the book series, and I wanted to start with Kate and Anthony's love story. And then I proceeded to read Benedict's story and Colin's story, and that is where I stopped. So to this day, I have not read Eloise, Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth's book. So that is going to affect my answers when it comes to people asking me who my favorite Bridgerton couple is and who my favorite characters are. When it comes to my favorite Bridgerton couple, which a few people asked me, it is of course going to be Kanthony, both in the show and in the books. They're my favorite. When it comes to my favorite Bridgerton character, oh good God. Am I gonna have to choose between Kate and Anthony? No, I'm not, no. Kate and Anthony are equally my parents, my everything, my babies, the loves of my life, so I will not be choosing. The next question that I got asked was whether I preferred the books or the show. and I do prefer the show. Now, I may be biased because I was like introduced to the Bridgerton world through the show, but I also have to say that if you were to ask me to choose between the Bridgerton characters, all of them, if you lined them up in a row and said pick between book Benedict or show Benedict, pick between book Anthony and show Anthony, the show counterparts would win pretty much every time. Now, I'm not going to go down an exhaustive list of every single character, but I will look at Kate and Anthony in particular. So first, let's look at Anthony. I think even diehard book readers have to admit that Anthony in the book can be a bit, arrogant? Aggressive. There were a lot of points while reading the book where I would kind of look at Anthony's behavior, especially with the way that he treated Kate, and sometimes I felt like it definitely bordered on mean. One change that I really appreciate between the book and the show is that Kate is really always the one initiating the more intimate moments between Kate and Anthony. She is the one that lunges first when they have their kiss. She is the one who says, "Do not stop," when they are about to have sex. She is always the one who takes the initiative and Anthony follows. Whereas in the book, it always sort of felt like Anthony was the aggressor in the situation. And when I say aggressor, I really do mean like he was like going for it. And sometimes, I don't know, Kate was sort of playing sort of the more like demure, naive, more insecure person. I mean, she definitely wanted Anthony, but the dynamic was very different, and I much prefer the show version in which Kate is the one who is sort of initiating all of these intimate moments between the two of them.
I feel like I went a bit too easy on book Anthony because some stuff that this man gets up to is really heinous. Like, I'm sorry, there's this whole scene where Kate is hiding under a desk and Anthony is in there making out with some other girl, and I get it. She violated your privacy. She should not have been in there. But then he proceeds to stomp on her foot and like kick her under the table. And then that is when they have their first kiss. And this man is like lunging after her. She has like a chair in between them. Like, I'm sorry, that first kiss makes me so uncomfortable. Like, I have reread this book a few times now. I still don't really like it. Like, it still gives me, it leaves a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. You know what I mean? So yeah, I, once again, much prefer the dynamic in the show.
Between book Anthony and show Anthony, they have a commonality in that they feel like they cannot live up to their father's legacy. However, in the book, that sort of takes the form of Anthony being convinced that he is going to die by the age of 38 when his father died. Whereas in the show, while Anthony is not convinced that he is going to die at 38 like he is in the book, like, I have to tell you, that is a very heavy part of the book. Like, he is just so convinced that he's going to die, and that is why he doesn't want to marry a woman that he could love. Whereas in the show, much of the focus is instead put on this sense of duty and needing to find a viscountess who can sort of continue on his legacy and give him an heir. Anthony in the show is not so much concerned with his mortality as he is concerned with leaving behind a proper legacy. Even when I try to explain Anthony's trauma in the books to non-book readers, they kind of look at me and are like, I don't really get it. So I think for general audiences, because let's be honest, Bridgerton is a cultural phenomenon. When these writers are writing for the show, they have to think about a general audience and what general audiences and TV watchers can empathize with and understand. And I think having this man totally convinced that he's going to die at 38 would just not really be something that I think people could fathom. However, feeling like you have to put your family above all else, feeling like you have to live up to your father's legacy, having Anthony be burned by love in season 1 and now being convinced that love can no longer work, having him witness his mother's grief and seeing her become a shell of a person and not wanting to go through that himself. All of that I feel like is far more understandable and palatable for a general TV watching audience. And now that we're on the subject of Kate, let me go ahead and talk about that. Kate Sheffield, in the book, is pretty insecure. That's a big sort of, not flaw, but a struggle with her character. She's often felt like she's been compared to Edwina, and while she harbors no resentment against Edwina for that, which I appreciate, she does feel really insecure about her looks in particular. Now, I'm actually very glad that they got rid of this sort of like insecurity around her looks for Kate in the show, because for me personally, it's just not that compelling. Listen, I deal with insecurities too. Everybody does. I still struggle with insecurities around my looks, but that is simply not compelling to me in a character, especially because it is so prominent in Kate's character. Like, it's like a defining thing that she struggles with. And for me, that is far less interesting compared to Kate Sharma in the show, who is dealing with the struggle of familial duty. That is her main struggle. The fact that she feels like she has to sacrifice everything to earn her place in that family, feeling like she is unworthy of love, feeling like she has to give everything so that her sister can thrive.
Here's the other thing. Kate Sheffield is a white woman. Kate Sharma, on the other hand, is a dark-skinned Desi woman. It is very rare that we see such women, such actresses, get leading roles in any show, honestly, but especially on insanely popular freaking period dramas. Like, literally unheard of. So personally, I don't want her, primary struggle in the show to be at she doesn't find herself attractive and doesn't believe that anyone else could. For me, I just want to see Kate Sharma existing in this world. I want to see Kate Sharma getting to just exist and be the main fucking character, to be the heroine of this show, to be the romance lead of this show. She gets to be in this world and exist at the center of it. She gets to wear the beautiful gowns and go to the incredible balls and be the center of attention while her and Anthony dance. I would much prefer just seeing that than Kate just being insecure the entire show until Anthony comes along and reassures her of her desirability. No, Kate Sharma knows that she's desirable, as she should. Also, when you cast Simone Ashley as Kate Sharma, the insecurity storyline is simply not going to work. It is simply not going to work. There is no way. Not with that face, not with that body, with those eyes, and that voice. There's no way. Maybe with some other girl, but not with Simone Ashley. No.
Also, when it comes to the thunderstorm thing, I'm sorry, you guys. It was not going to translate well on screen. It wasn't. I'm sorry. Also, this may be controversial, but I never really got the thunderstorm thing anyway, and it was wrapped up so weirdly in the books. Basically, Kate's afraid of thunderstorms. She doesn't know why. She goes up to Mary towards the end of the book, and Mary says, oh yeah, basically your mother died during a thunderstorm, and that's why you have trauma, and then Kate finds out about it, and boom! She's fixed. No more trauma. It's never brought up again. And that was so, even when I read the books, I'm sorry, I did not really like how that storyline was handled. So personally, I'm not that mad that they got rid of it. However, I do understand why people were upset that the library scene in particular was not similar to the book, because beyond just it being about Kate's fear of thunderstorms, it is a very important moment where Kate and Anthony bond, and we see them kind of soften to one another. I personally would have also liked to have seen that scene be extended. Since I'm already kind of comparing Anthony and Kate from the books versus the show, I'm just going to continue to talk about book-to-screen changes. I think where the show and the book really start their deviation is with the bee sting scene. The function of the bee sting scene in the book versus the show is very different, and I have to say that I much prefer the way that they handled the bee sting scene in the show. I like that they didn't make the bee sting the reason why Kate and Anthony had to get married. It forces Kate and Anthony onto a path where they have to actually choose each other. In the book, there is this external circumstance that forces them to marry. It's all very convenient. But in the show, they don't have that external thing forcing them to get married. So it's really just put on them. Are they finally going to admit their feelings? Are they finally going to stop sort of adhering to their familial duty and actually do something for themselves? Kate and Anthony in the show have to actually choose each other. They don't have a bee sting that conveniently allows them to get married. No, they have to put in the work, the internal work. They have to overcome their internal struggles in order to be together. And that is so much more compelling than just having to get married because, you got caught sucking on her titty. So the next change I'm just going to talk about generally, which is the extension of the love triangle, the eventual wedding, and the big blow up at the altar. When I first watched this, like a lot of you, I was angry. My heart was beating a mile a minute. I couldn't properly think. I was just angry and stressed. However, I've taken the time, I've thought about it, and honestly, I really don't know what else they could have done. Because in a way, it makes sense. It makes sense that Anthony and all of his dumb assery would propose to Edwina. That he would be so afraid of his feelings that he would just swing all the way the other way and propose to Edwina. It then makes sense that Kate, upon hearing that Edwina loves Anthony and wants to be his wife, simply cannot bring herself to call off the wedding, and in fact makes Anthony go through with it because she just wants her sister to be happy, and her sister has told her that Anthony will make her happy. As much as it frustrated me, as much as that storyline pissed me off, as much as it stressed me the fuck out, I still, from a narrative standpoint, can appreciate it. Because when you divorce the show from the book, and when you really think about who Kate and Anthony are in the show, it makes sense. They are self-destructive idiots. I'm sorry, I love them, but it's true. I know that most people would like for the wedding to have not happened. But I personally think it was good fucking drama, and I think that they had to fill up time. However, I think that it happened a bit too late. If you're going to keep the wedding thing, fine. If you're going to extend the love triangle, which really isn't a love triangle, let's talk about that. Actually, you know what? Yeah, let's take a minute and talk about that. People get confused about who the point of the love triangle is. It's not Anthony. It is not about two sisters fighting over a guy. The love triangle is all about Kate. It is about Kate being torn between her love for her sister and her love for Anthony. And that is why it's so compelling. Anyway, let's backpedal. Let's go back to talking about the wedding. My one thing, I think my one complaint, is that I wish it had happened sooner. Because when you have the wedding and that emotional reckoning with Kate and Anthony, Kate and Edwina, Anthony and Edwina, all the families being embroiled in scandal, there's not enough time to deal with all of that in the remaining 2 episodes. There simply isn't. And for me, that is where the failing in this season lies. Really, my only complaints about this season has to do with the fact that I did not think that a lot of the reconciliation, particularly the reconciliation between Edwina and Kate, was given justice and given enough time. There was someone who asked me, what would you change from the Bridgerton script? And for me, it would be that. It would be moving the wedding up a bit, maybe episode 5, and then we have episodes 6 and 7 to deal with the ramifications, to have Kate and Edwina mend their relationship. And then episode 8 can be all about Kate and Anthony. Since I've already brought her up, let's go ahead and talk about Edwina, which is a character that I got asked about a lot. I think a good chunk of the questions that I was asked were about Edwina. I really love Teresa, the actress who plays her. And I think because of that, I'm always going to kind of like Edwina. I do like Edwina, I do. But what frustrated me is that I feel like even at the end of the season, there was never really, from her end, a true understanding and a true attempt at understanding Kate. I think that Edwina herself is a very interesting and compelling story arc. She starts off and she's very enamored by this kind of facade that Anthony puts on. I mean, it's not really even a facade, actually. It's him presenting himself as the Viscount. He's charming, he's likable, and he has this gorgeous house and this amazing lifestyle, and Edwina is drawn to that, and that is no issue at all. Repeatedly, Edwina will say, I want to be his wife. I want to be his Viscountess. She says that, his Viscountess. She likes the idea of having that title, of living in Aubrey Hall, of being a part of the Bridgerton family. She likes the lifestyle that Anthony offers her, and there's no issue with that, okay? It is said throughout the season that marriage is often an economic decision, and Anthony's a good guy. You know, they'd be comfortable, she'd have a good life. However, when I start to get confused is when she's also constantly asserting that she wants true love. And this is where I feel like the writers kind of fumbled a bit, because what she's saying is that she likes the title, and in that sense I totally get it. But then she's also saying that she wants love, and then she gets upset with Anthony, who's been telling her from the beginning that he will never love her. Anthony tells her that. Kate tells her that. Daphne, in so many words, tells her that, and tells her that she doesn't really understand Anthony or really know the true Anthony. So I don't know. I honestly have a lot of questions. Like, what does Edwina truly want? I feel like they wrote her in such a way that she doesn't know, so that means I don't know. I think it would have been so much more compelling and would have made a lot more sense to me, in my head at least, if Edwina had started off really wanting a title, wanting a comfortable lifestyle, all these things that she said. She wants to be a Viscountess. And then, at the end of the season, she reaches a spot where she realizes, I actually don't care about the titles. I don't care about any of that. I just want to be in love. For me, that's a character arc that makes sense. She started in one place, through external circumstances, realizes that she wants something different for herself. Like, that would have made sense to me. That is a very clear character arc. But I feel like because they made Edwina both want the title and the comfortability, and also want to be in love, I don't know. Like, those are two things that kind of juxtapose one another. So Edwina's like saying one thing in one scene and then saying another thing in a different scene. Like, I didn't understand her. And actually, I don't even think I realized this issue with her character until I'm saying it right now. This doesn't make me dislike Edwina. This makes me kind of frustrated with the writing room. Like, why did you not give her, like, a clear desire? And that sort of problem with her motivation becomes an even bigger problem in episode 6, when it all comes to a head. The half-sister comment. Let's talk about it. Because it's fucked up. We all know it's fucked up. I was shocked when I heard it. I saw red when she said it. But let's try to see this objectively. I think that everyone in their lives at one point has said something that they know will hurt somebody, simply because they want to hurt them. And it's not right, it's a horrible thing to do, you regret it the second you say it, but humans do this. And I know I've done it, and I regret it. So, controversial opinion alert, I'm actually not that mad that she said it. What I am mad about is that there was never a proper apology for it. And that is the crux of my issue with Edwina. There was never a proper apology, never a real sort of conversation between her and Kate, where she listened to Kate and came to understand her. Someone asked me about the speech that Edwina gives to Kanthony and Kate at the end of that episode. She calls them into the altar, the room, and sort of lays into both of them. Now, what she says to Kanthony, I'm not going to comment. She had free reign to say that shit. She was right about some of that shit. That man, it was disrespectful. I love him, but it was disrespectful. However, what she says to Kate, I still don't get it. I still am confused by it. And the line that really sticks out to me is when she tells Kate, you no longer have your power. And I sat there when she said it, and I'm sitting here now, like a month after watching it, and I still don't really know what she meant by that. It just showed me that she has a fundamental misunderstanding of her and Kate's relationship and what Kate and her motivations are. The thing about Kate is that her motivations are always pure. Everything that she does for her sister. Now, that doesn't mean that what she does doesn't hurt Edwina. I said this in my reactions, but at some point, when you sacrifice so much of yourself for someone, you actually start to hurt them instead of helping them. And Edwina, her feelings are 100% valid. I understand why she's angry. However, in saying that Kate has lost her power, she almost makes it out like Kate is this kind of mastermind villain, that throughout Edwina's entire life, she only taught her to be a proper young lady and taught her to play instruments and sing and speak languages because Kate wanted to control her, and that's just not it. I think the writing room really thought that they were giving Edwina this like boss-ass bitch moment, but no, all you did was make her seem like she has no understanding of Kate as a person, despite growing up with her as, like, a mother figure. I blame the writing room. I really do. Honestly, most of these things I blame the writing room for. I feel like with Edwina, I don't even really feel anger. I'm just confused. Like, these writers really didn't know what the fuck they were doing with her character. There's a lot of other moments between Edwina and Kate where Edwina is just sort of venting her anger. I don't want to talk about all of it because this video is already way too long and I've spent way too much time talking about this. But the final thing I want to talk about is the sort of reconciliation conversation between Edwina and Kate in episode 8. I just rhymed so many times in that sentence. This conversation was just not it. At the time when I watched it, I was happy because I just wanted Edwina and Kate to make up because I do love them as sisters and I love their bond. I love getting to see them at that ball, being happy and dancing together. I loved seeing Edwina tell Kate to go after Kanthony, to be the sister I know you are, shine your light on yourself. That was all beautiful. I loved that. However, once again, with this conversation, she misunderstands Kate. The line when she says, "Why did you allow me to put it together myself like a fool?" Insinuating that Kate was doing all this stuff maliciously. Like she was purposefully trying to make Edwina out to look like an idiot. I feel like the writing room, every time that there was a conversation between Edwina and Kate past episode 6, they kept wanting it to be like Edwina is like the bigger man. She has the upper hand. And Kate just has to like step back and apologize and like listen to Edwina. Like if anything, this conversation is the moment in which they should have an equal relationship. Am I making sense? I feel like I'm not making any sense. Like, I'm sorry, you guys. I did not script this. Usually I would be a lot better about this kind of thing, but I'm really just sitting here and rambling in front of the camera. I'm sorry if this doesn't make sense. Please, please share with me your opinions, especially on Edwina, because honest to God, I don't know what to think. I'm so confused. That is really how I feel about Edwina. I'm not really angry at her. I'm just confused.
Honestly, I feel like so much of my problems with the Edwina, Kate, and even Mary storyline could have been solved if you'd actually given them some time. The three of them sitting down together, Mary addressing where she failed, Kate sort of giving her opinion, and allowing Kate to vent her frustrations. Like, I feel like people want to say, oh, Edwina is at fault, Kate is at fault, Edwina's the victim, Kate's the victim. No, like every single one of them, these three women contributed to this unhealthy and dysfunctional dynamic. No one is really at fault here, and now it is up to three of them to move ahead and forge a relationship between the two of them, forge a new family dynamic that allows all of them to thrive.
Alright, so after ranting to my camera for like half an hour, let's go to this next fun, cute question, which is, what is your favorite episode from season 2? I have spent so long thinking about this question, and I have 3 that are my favorites, and then I'm going to try to rank those top 3. So the 3 episodes that are my absolute favorite are episodes 5 and 7 and 8. Within those 3 favorites, I'm going to rank them, but just know that the margins between them are just like razor thin. In third place amongst my top 3 episodes of season 2 is episode 5. Second is episode 7. And then in first place is episode 8. Simply for that epilogue. I have never in my life had that much dopamine and serotonin rush to my brain at once. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience watching that scene. You do not want to know how many times I've watched that scene. It's insane. It's insane behavior. I need to watch it at least every other day to function as a person. Because we spent an entire fucking season dealing with angst and slow burn. And don't get me wrong, I love angst. I love a slow burn. But those like final 10 minutes of domestic bliss, it felt like a fucking reward. It felt like a gold medal. It felt like I won the fucking lottery twice. And the fact that we get to see that level of adorableness and domesticity from them in seasons 3 and 4, are you joking? Like, oh my god, I cannot wait for them to be the most disgustingly adorable couple ever. So most of the other questions that I got regarding Bridgerton either had to be about what I want to see from season 3 of the show and just about the book series in general. But before I transition into talking about that, I want to go ahead and talk about plot points in season 2 that you guys didn't get to see me react to that I want to bring up and discuss now. So first, let's talk about Theo and Eloise and my unpopular opinion about them, which is that they're fine. I've always been part of the give Eloise a girlfriend agenda, but I guess that's not happening. It's just mean to say. I didn't really care. I'm sorry to all the Theo Eloise fans out there, but I knew it was gonna last. It just wasn't, and so I didn't want to get invested. Next, I'm going to talk about a plot line that plagued me, that was the bane of my existence, and not in a good Anthony way. It's the Featherington plot. Now listen, part of me feels like I shouldn't be talking about it because I honestly didn't even watch it. Like, even the first time I was watching the show, I just skipped through it. And I still don't really know what happened in that storyline. But also, it doesn't fucking matter. Because that storyline went nowhere. There was no fucking point to it. And I think that's why it pisses me off. Because I knew this man was not lasting past the season. Every single time that there was a good Kate and Anthony moment, they would cut to Portia and Jack. Bridgerton writing room, editing room, directors, whatever, you set Portia and Jack up. Like, literally that plot line did nothing. There was no point to it besides lining Portia's pockets. I mean, you could have had her play a couple rounds of, like, poker or whatever and win a bunch of money, and then you would have solved the issue, and I wouldn't have had to suffer through Cousin Jack. That man. I called him that man the entire season because I couldn't remember his name. I just don't care about the Featheringtons. I don't care, and they're not even entertaining. Like, in season 1, I did like their plotline, and mostly because I enjoyed Marina and I wanted to see what happened with all that. But this season, no. Next, I want to talk about Colin and how much I didn't like his plotline this season. And you know what? There wasn't even really a plotline for him this season. They just had him do a bunch of random bullshit. They were like throwing ideas against a wall and seeing what stuck with that boy. The storyline where he went to visit Marina irks me. I don't like that he invaded her privacy and her life, trying to drudge up the past. Like, you have no business being there, sir. She's moved on. She went through hell when all of that blew up, and you are perfectly fine afterwards. You're doing perfectly well for yourself. Why are you coming into her house and her life and bringing all this up again? And bringing up all that hurt? And then you have that whole plot line with Cousin Jack and sort of becoming his investor, but then, oh, turns out that he's just exposing him and he's helping Will out with the club. Like, fine, like, it was a fine plot line, like, cool, good for you, but I don't care. I feel like I've said that so much with these plot lines. I don't care. The moral of the story is I didn't care about anything that wasn't Kanthony. It's true. Oh, it's so true. Maybe I don't like Bridgerton. Maybe I just like Kanthony. That might be it. I just didn't find Colin that compelling this season, which is a bummer because I really enjoyed him in season 1. I did. Finally, I want to talk about Penelope and Eloise. And I think I have what is probably considered an unpopular opinion at the moment, which is that I don't hate Penelope. I know a lot of people have completely turned on Penelope because of what happened this season, but honestly, I feel like what she did to Marina last season was so much worse than what happened with Eloise this season. Let me explain. I feel like what went down with Eloise, yes, it was a betrayal, but I think there were some good intentions there. I think that Penelope was really stuck between a rock and a hard place with the queen. I think that there was really no good answer. And I know people are going to say, well, she should have just turned herself in. I think she explained that if she tried to do that, Probably no one would believe her. Her own fucking family thinks that she's dirt on the bottom of their shoes. They think worse of her than that. Do I think it was right? No. Do I understand her motivation? Yes. Do I understand that she is a fucking kid? People forget this. Dealing with all this shit. And at the end of the season, Penelope was done. She had recognized her mistake, that she had done some real damage, that she had created this destructive thing, and she was done with it. And because of all that, because I feel like Penelope really, she had no good way out. She had no good option available to her. I think I can maybe understand and empathize a bit more with the Eloise situation. But with Marina, that really was purely vindictive. She was mad at Marina, she was upset and jealous about Colin, and she publicly ruined this girl. Now Eloise can bounce back. What you cannot bounce back from is being pregnant and trying to marry someone else. Marina could have she could have been so easily ruined. It would have been so much worse for her than Eloise, because Eloise has a Bridgerton name. Marina had nothing. With the Eloise situation, Penelope had to do something publicly. She couldn't just go to the queen and privately be like, oh, no, it's definitely not Eloise, or like, Eloise, blah, blah, blah. No, she had to do something publicly in order to get the heat off of Eloise. But with Marina, she could have taken Marina and Colin into a room and said, Marina, tell Colin the truth or I will. And then they could have worked it out amongst themselves and their family, and the whole town didn't have to fucking know about it. They could have handled it internally like they did with Daphne and Simon and the whole kissing thing. And for me, the exposure of Marina and her pregnancy is so much more vile than what she did to Eloise. But obviously, because people, the general audience, like Eloise more than Marina, they're gonna be more pissed about that. And here's the other thing. I am not really that ride or die for Eloise the way that most people are. I don't know, I think Eloise always rubbed me the wrong way ever since she would constantly critique Daphne for wanting to be a lady and wear dresses, wanting love and to get married and to have kids. I didn't like the way that she was constantly shaming Daphne. And the problem with Eloise is that she doesn't realize how privileged she is. And I very much appreciated the moments where Theo pointed that out to her. Eloise doesn't have to worry about basic survival like other people. Eloise doesn't have to worry about being caught, whereas Theo does. Eloise doesn't have to worry because she has the protection of being a white woman from a very privileged family and having a bunch of money. Ultimately, I think that Penelope is a very flawed character. I really don't think that that justifies a lot of the vitriol that she gets. It is a lot, the backlash that she is getting. I think that if you can extend sympathy to a lot of other characters in the show, you can try to extend some to her.
Then again, maybe it's not even really about Penelope's flaws as a person. Maybe y'all are just fatphobic. Not maybe. Some of you definitely are. So, I think sometimes no matter what Penelope does, or how likable she is, some of you guys are just never gonna like that girl. And, that's your issue, not mine. So, bye.
Hello, it's me, again. I know that you just saw me a millisecond ago, but I'm back on a different day, because there have been some pretty big updates in regards to Bridgerton Season 3 that I feel like I need to address. It has been stated by all the official Bridgerton accounts that Season 3 is going to be following Penelope and Colin. Now, I know that all of us had our suspicions about this for quite some time. Shonda, I think, was the first person to really mention that they might not be going in book order. And then there was an article released where Simone specifically said that she is very excited for Nicola and Luke to take on the mantle of the leads. So there have been a lot of hints dropped, but I think now we have our official confirmation. I haven't finished editing this video, so I'm not really sure where this section is gonna go, how much I've already shared, but let's just say that I am equal parts intrigued and also a little bit nervous. My feelings are very mixed on this because I am not in love with Benedict and Sophie's story in a way a lot of people are. I do not like Benedict's book. I don't like book Benedict, period. He gives me the serious ick. That man is so bland. There's nothing interesting about him. And the way that he treats Sophie in that book, I hate it. I know that there is a class difference between the two of them, but they just have this power imbalance that I do not like at all. And the way that that is the primary issue in their relationship, I just don't like it. I know that someone asked me what my least favorite Bridgerton book is. Now, I've only read Anthony, Colin's, and Benedict's, and of those three, Benedict's was by far the worst, no contest. I am actually thinking about rereading Colin and Benedict's books and then going on to finish the rest of them in a reading vlog, so keep your eyes out for that. So anyway, back to Benedict's book and why I don't like it. First of all, I don't like Cinderella stories. Strike one. Second of all, I feel like Sophie as a character does not have that much agency. I feel like a lot of things happen to her, and she doesn't really make things happen, which is not my favorite brand of hero. The biggest strike, however, is of course Benedict and his elitist fucking ass. Sophie's like whole thing throughout the book is that she is a bastard, aka a child that was born out of wedlock, and she just does not want to pass on that fate to anyone else. She does not want to be anyone's mistress. Like, that's like a big thing for her. And so then finally, when she has sex with Benedict for the first time, like, I'm pretty sure almost immediately after, please correct me if I'm being wrong about this, he basically tells her, you can only ever be my mistress, like, I'll put you up in a house, but that is all that you can expect from me. What? You know, I think another reason that I was so jarred by book Benedict is because he is just so juxtaposed to show Benedict. Like, I was introduced to the Bridgerton world through the show. So my idea of these characters are very much colored by how they were written in the show. So to go from show Benedict, this incredible, charming, funny, just chaotic man, to this, like, bland ass, elitist ass, like, it was jarring, and I hated it. So while I am excited to see Show Benedict get his season, I'm not that intrigued by his story, and I think, personally, that they have to do a lot of overhauls for me to enjoy his love story with Sophie. Like, they need to make a lot of changes. So that's part of my kind of, like, hang-up about season 3. The next part comes with my feelings towards Polin, which, again, are very complicated. Now, as you could tell in this video, I was not a fan of Colin in season 2. In fact, Colin pissed me off more than Penelope this season. I know most of the things that I saw on Twitter, on Instagram, more people were upset about Penelope being like an unlikable character and how can you ever have her as the main character? She betrayed her best friend. No, you are putting your energy into the wrong person. Say what you want about Penelope being unlikable, being irredeemable. She brings entertainment. She makes you feel something. What do you feel when Colin is on the screen, besides boredom or irritation? I know that the switching around of seasons has also caused a lot of book fans to sort of question how exactly this timeline is going to work. Now, as I mentioned, I have not read any of the, like, younger siblings' books, but I hear that the timeline is pretty compact, that certain love stories overlap with others, that Colin and Penelope take a long time to get together, and that is part of, like, their build-up. Like, it's important. They need that time to grow individually before they can come together. And honestly, I think I also would have liked to have seen that time for them to grow, especially Colin. Like, here's my thing about the friends to lovers trope. I don't like it because I don't like the way that it is done most of the time. And most of the time, we get a situation like Polin, in which the guy is totally oblivious, not only to the girl's romantic feelings, but also to how important she is as a friend. Like, there's just no respect. And then we have the girl who is always groveling for this man. It is 2022. In what world do you think I want to see a girl groveling for a man? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Men should always fall first. Men should always be pining. I do not want to see anything else. I think the thing that really sucks for me is that I want to like Polin so bad. Like, my frustration comes from this point, not of like, ew, I hate it, but like, I want to like it so bad, but all these things are just stopping me. Getting to see Nicola Coughlan, a fat girl, lead a period drama. She gets to be desired and wanted. She gets the pretty dresses. She gets the man in the end. Like, this is literally my dream come true. So you have no idea how much it fucking pains me that I am not excited for this. Like, I want to be so bad, but it's just, I don't like the tropes. I don't like the way they've been set up. I don't like Colin that much. Like, I don't see him as a romance lead. I am actually, like, really holding out hope for this season. I really hope that they change my mind. Anyway, those are my final thoughts on season 3 being announced as the Polin season. Now, back to the rest of the video. I honestly, like, I have no idea where I'm gonna fit this in. Some people ask me about the casting of future characters and love interests. When it comes to Sophie being cast, I just really want them to cast a woman of color. I hope that they continue with that tradition. As for a particular actress, I honestly don't really have anyone in mind. Finally, I want to talk about what I hope to see for Kate and Anthony in season 3. Now, 1, I want the wedding. Give me the fucking wedding. Why did they not have a wedding? This is another thing that irks me about season 2. The way it would have just been so beautiful to see a small, intimate ceremony with family at Aubrey Hall, to see Kate in beautiful traditional Indian wedding attire. It would just be such a beautiful juxtaposition between the wedding with Edwina and Anthony, which was all bombastic and beautiful and gorgeous on the outside, but there was no love between the two of them. To then contrast that narratively with a small, intimate ceremony between two people who really do love each other. Like, that would have been so amazing to see. Like, I want to see their wedding, damn it! I know that it was a beautiful, small ceremony on the grass at Aubrey Hall. I know that when the priest or whoever said, "Does anyone object to this wedding?" that Newton barked and that everybody laughed. I also know that Kate and Anthony did the traditional Indian wedding ceremony where you walk around the fire. I know all of that shit happened. I know it did. So show me it. Or I'll write the fanfic my damn self. When it comes to season 3, Anthony and Kate, I flip back and forth between like wanting her to already be pregnant versus wanting her to like realize that she's pregnant halfway through the season. I don't know. I feel like we're definitely going to get Kate and Anthony for both seasons 3 and 4. So I feel like there's time to see like Edmund II be born. I think it's going to be so beautiful to see them as parents. I also know that Anthony is going to be the worst helicopter husband while Kate is pregnant. I just cannot wait to see them so blissfully happy and blissfully in love. I just want to continue to see Anthony obsessed with his wife. Anyway, domestic Kanthony is really going to kill me. If anything, I will watch season 3 for them only. I mean, of course, like, I'll be excited for season 3, but like, every single Kanthony crumb that I get, I'll be gobbling that shit up. But then again, I don't think we're gonna get crumbs, because Kate and Anthony kind of have to be like major figures in all the rest of the seasons, because they're the heads of Bridgerton house. Like, how are you gonna write them out? Also, Simone and Jonny just love Bridgerton so much and love working with each other so much that I know that they will gladly come back for each and every season. So, what's that? We won. So, that has to be it for me today, you guys. I know that there is a ton that I still haven't said. I'm sure that I will look back on this video and constantly insert little clips of editing me wanting to say just like one more thing. I want to thank you all so much for submitting your questions. I'm sorry if I didn't get to yours specifically. I also want to thank you guys for coming on this Bridgerton journey with me. I can't wait to see you guys back in a year or so for season 3. But really, I hope you guys come back much sooner than when Bridgerton season 3 drops, because there are so many book-to-screen adaptations that I cannot wait to watch and cover on this channel. I am especially excited for the Summer I Turned Pretty series. I'm currently working through the books right now. Off the top of my head, there's also the Vampire Academy show, and of course, Percy Jackson coming to Disney+. My life is going to change completely when that show drops. If you guys want to find me or follow me anywhere else, all those links will be down below. I love you all very dearly, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye!